Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you've been having a glorious week. I most certainly am, because we are 8 days away from Heavy Montreal presents Vox and Hops Brutal Montreal, the first edition of a true metal and craft beer festival that is going to be happening in my hometown of Montreal at Corona Theatre on December 17th. This year's lineup features my band Cryptopsy alongside The Agonist, The Great Sabatini, Necrotic Mutation, and Burning the Oppressor. All night long, you will be able to enjoy amazing beers from some of Quebec's best microbreweries, such as BG Brasserie Urbaine, Messorum Brassatorium, Brasserie du Bas-Canada, Sir John Brewing Company, Cinquième Baron, and Brasseur de Montréal. Tickets are selling extremely quickly, and if you want to come to this show, I strongly encourage you to pick up your ticket right now via the link in the description of this podcast. I cannot wait for December 17th to be standing on that stage and watch a bunch of amazing metalheads enjoying life, metal, and craft beer all together. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I'm also asking you to rate it and write a review. Now, why do I want you to do that? Well, you have to imagine that when someone is looking for a new podcast to listen to, what do? They scroll down, they check out those ratings, they check out the reviews, and if those reviews are positive and reflect their values, they will most probably give that podcast a chance. If you would encourage someone to become a future Vox and Hops head by writing a review, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today's episode was recorded last week at the Thirsty Thursday virtual hang. We had a blast. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 312, featuring the Vox and Hops Album Review Crew.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is a very, very special episode, an episode that I've been wanting to do for quite some time to properly introduce the wonderful humans that are the Vox and Hops Album Review Crew. They have been writing reviews for the podcast, social media accounts for many months now, and I've had it on the schedule to have them on a Thirsty Thursday Live, which this is right now. We are recording this at a Thirsty Thursday virtual hang, and they're here. It happened. I sort of bumped them in September, and I felt bad about that, but I thought, let's just wait and let's do a top 10. I bumped them a few days before, too. I felt bad about it. And
I'm used to it.
I figured, well, let's make it up to them and do a top 10 episode, because they really know what the hell's going on in the extreme metal scene, even more than what I know that's going on in the extreme metal scene. So without further ado, let me introduce you to who our guests are tonight. We have Jerry Monk, the metal architect himself, with us. He curates all of the Vox and Hops Brutal Awakenings playlists, and is just an all around amazing human. Jerry, how you doing?
Doing good, Matt. How about yourself?
Very good. Very happy to be with all of you tonight. Up next, we have Evan Welch and Philippe Brousseau of the Whispers from the Void podcast, a podcast that was born out of Thirsty Thursday. So that makes me very happy, and you guys should go check that out if you haven't checked it out yet. Evan, Philip, how you guys feeling?
Good. Oh, very good. Very good. Tired, but good. But we have beer and friends, so that's good.
Banged out another 4 reviews before this, so.
Amazing. You guys rule. Can't wait. Up next, we have Jimbo, whose real name I shall not divulge. How are you doing, Jimbo?
I'm good. It's 2 a.m. here in Germany, and I'm just warming up. But so I don't make it to as many Thirsty Thursdays as I'd like to because of the time difference, but I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, but you participate very much on social media and in the chats, whether you're here hanging out with us on the Thursdays, and I always appreciate that.
Cheers.
And then we have Wooderson. Dan, how you feeling?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Very, very, very good. Stoked to be with you all. So basically this episode is what it's going to be is I want to hear what your top 10 albums of 2021 was. It's basically a round table discussion where we're going to go turn by turn. I am not going to be participating in this because I have my own top 10 album episode coming out in the next few weeks. But I want to know what yours are. Vox and Hops Album, hanging out with my metal friends, enjoying life, metal, and craft beer. Tonight, I'm going to be enjoying this lager beer from Lagerbrau, which is a brand new micro that just opened up here in Quebec. They are contract brewing right now out of Everglade, and it is very, very exciting. People are freaking out about this and this new endeavor. I'm going to crack this. We'll start with Jerry. What is your beer that you're drinking right now? And then let's jump straight into what your number 10 album is after that.
I don't have a beer right now. I forgot to grab one before I got on here. But number 10 for me was a band from Miami. They originally are from Venezuela. It's a duo called Cave of Swimmers with their album Aurora. This is their first full-length album. They put out a few EPs before, and I actually found them from a band that was on my top 10 last year, Ether Coven. They play like a mix of doom, stoner, and psych. The riffs are just super, super infectious. Like, one of the songs was stuck in my head for probably a week, where I just surprised it wasn't my top song of last year on Spotify, which was weird. But it was definitely one of those albums with the doom, you know, your head banging, it's slow and sludgy, and then they break out into kind of like a Latin beat, where even in their music videos, you see people dancing and just like having a great time at their show. So it's a really interesting album, and that was my number 10.
And I love that in extreme metal, it is okay to have fun now. There was a moment where it was taken too seriously, where extreme metal was just about being tough and evil. But now we're seeing a lot more this newer generation of it's okay to have fun and have a smile on your face and enjoy extreme metal, and I love that. This Lagerbrau is really, really good. Crisp, clean, tastes like fresh cereal, a little bit honey. Killer. Whispers from the Void, boys. Evan, starting with you, what are you drinking? And your number 10 album.
Let's see. I have a Night Shift San Tilly, one of their premieres. I really like this beer. I haven't had it enough, though, but it was one of my first when I started drinking.
A return to the source.
Yes. My first one is going to be Inoculation Celestial Putridity. When this one dropped, I was immediately drawn to the album cover. I thought it was awesome. I really am just a fan of Inoculation. It blew me away. I've loved this record. It just has everything that you want from the band. It's brutal. It's fast. It's grotesque. It is just all around. It's just a mosh pit of destruction. And so it made my list. I will say making this list was tough, but every band on here is very well deserving. So
2021 was a mammoth year for metal releases. If anything that the pandemic did give us was a lot of good content and a lot of great albums this year. Philip, the other half of Whispers from the Void, what are you drinking, and what was your number 10 slot?
Well, right now I'm drinking Le Fermentor, Mutoid, Vox&Hops, and GMPQ. Ale of the Fathers, red wine edition.
The Fathers!
Ale of the Fathers! Am I good?
Very good.
Am I engaged in cryptopsy now?
As long as you can replace me every once in a while, that'd be nice. But
so yeah, Ale
nice.
of the Fathers, old ale. I love it a lot. Seriously, like I really love the classic one, but this one is so good. My number 10, it's not metal in the typical sense. It's like hardcore punk, but catchy. It's Turnstile Glow On. Honestly, like I saw Jerry and Dan talking about it. I was like, okay, let's listen to it. And I was hooked. I was just hooked about like, you want to go moshing, but you want to get friends with it. You want like to be happy in a mosh pit. It's fucked up. I just love like the catchiness of it. It's just so good.
that's fantastic. Another moment of smiles in a mosh pit. It's cool. Yeah. I'm loving the evolution of extreme metal.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dan. Let's jump straight to Wooderson. What are you drinking? Sure. If you are drinking, and if you, what do you got going on? And then what's number 10 for you?
All right. I did switch up the coffee for a beer. I'm drinking Star Beast from Sukrams.
Hell
It's
yes.
an Imperial Stout. It's around 10.5% or so. And this one is vintage 2019. So it's got some age on it too. Yeah, it's a nice one for sure.
Patience.
Yeah. I actually bought it from the brewery because they every year they're putting some away. And then, every anniversary they release like a vintage version of it. So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Very nice. Sukram's looking forward to making my way out there hypothetically in the spring.
Yeah, let's hope so, right? Yeah, let's hope so. So top 10. The first one, probably, not necessarily like extreme metal by any means, but still heavy. It's a band called Painted Wives, and their album's New Medusa, and it's out on Century Media. So think of it, maybe a little bit more hard rock than metal. It kind of reminds me of a dirtier Alice in Chains, maybe with a little bit of Mastodon thrown in. There's tons of hooks. Like, it's so catchy, and there's wicked vocals. And you know what? And the best thing about it is, for me, is like they really know how to write a song. You could listen to it, and I think it's one of those bands that can cross genres for sure. So anyway, solid album all the way through. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Jimbo, what are you drinking at 2:00 in the morning?
I am drinking a beer that I haven't had before, called Velga Fluster Märzen. So the brewery is apparently from 1050. So I think that's about as old as breweries get. And it's quite nice. It's nice and malty. It's a little sweet, 5.5% alcohol. It's good. It's a good starting beer because I've got two more strong dark beers to follow up this one. So my number 10 album, this was a super good year for a few different genres that I'm really into. And one of them was Death Doom. So there were a lot of bands that I could have put in this list that didn't make it. So the new Ophis, the new Burial, the new Worm, just a ton of really good Death Doom bands. But I chose the debut album from a Portuguese band called Sepulcros. Their album is called Vazio. And I picked up this album early in the year, and it's just this incredible cavernous sounding intense death doom that oscillates really nicely between these slow sort of funereal passages and then switches into these very fast blasting sections, and it all sounds really oppressive, and the vocals are great. And one of the things that really I think sets this album apart is the drumming on it is fantastic, not just in a technical sense, but how it sounds. The drumming is just really, really on point. It sounds exactly how at least I want drums to sound. And the album's so well produced that you can hear a lot of the nuances and the riffing and stuff. So I just thought this was sensational. And particularly for a debut album, it's just incredible. Oh, and it's also got a great album cover by Marius Lewandowski, who's doing a lot of the best album covers in metal these days. So I don't know what the hell's going on the album cover. It's some sort of weird purple ball thing. It's like all those Dan Seagrave covers that are always just like twisty purple rocks. You don't know what it is, but you like it.
Amazing. I love it. A solid round of 10s. I'm impressed so far. I honestly have not listened to one of them yet, so I'm intrigued, and I have my homework to do. Let's keep going. Back to the Metal Architect. Number 9, your number 9 position, top 10 albums.
Okay, number 9 for me was Rivers of Nile, The Work. I know Matt and I had discussion about this when I was in Montreal.
Yes, we did.
I know it's not as good as their last one where Owls Know My Name, but I believe they take that core sound and also some like maybe 70s and 80s style rock and metal and expand on that core sound of theirs. There's some spots that kind of sound like Rush in a way. It's an incredible album. They played a few songs off of it live. It's massive. I would say probably my song of the year is off this album, the Void song. It's just I can't get enough of it. But yeah, that's my number 9. These guys are taking the crown for death metal, in my opinion.
I was super stoked for the album. I listened to it a bunch. It just, as we spoke about when you came up through here in Montreal, didn't resonate with me as much as their previous work. But I am excited to see where they can tour with, who they can tour with because of this record. That, I think it opens a massive amounts of doors where you're going to see Rivers of Nile, not necessarily on an extreme metal package, but yet on a Mastodon package, hypothetically. Just thinking hypothetically like that, and I think that's adventurous, and they're awesome dudes, and I love them, and can't wait to play with them, hang out with them again. Whispers from the Void boys. Evan, number 9 on your list.
My number 9 was actually my grooviest. I went with Frog Lord, the Mystic Toad. I love this record, dude. It's a sludge doom sort of vibe, man. You know what? It's another case of a band just having fun and just having great musicianship and just really going along with a theme and just making it awesome. These guys from Connecticut, I just saw that they actually just put together a live band. So they will actually be doing shows. I'm hoping that one day we can get them here in America or North America or whatever, and we can fucking see them, because I just need to see that the vocalist with the mask. I need it. He's changed it like twice now, but it's awesome. I love his Instagram. You gotta go follow his Instagram.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Other side of Whispers from the Void. Philip, number 9.
Yeah, my number 9 is Converge and Chelsea Wolf, also Stefan Brodsky, and blah, blah, blah. The collab album of Converge. God damn, it is so good. Oh, shit. I love it. Like, I'm a big fan of Converge. First time I was hearing Chelsea Wolf, she's a fucking great singer. I love her.
You gotta
voice.
listen to The Abyss. Just saying.
Great album.
Yeah, honestly, this is so good. Blood Moon 1, I love that album a lot. Why it's not higher on the list? It's because of, I don't know, there was some structure that I wasn't like understanding, but I just love the album nonetheless. It's on my top 4, not for nothing. I'm a big fan of Converge, and that's why I want to go in Worcester to see them, because they're not coming in Canada. Why?
You mean it's not Meshuggah? Meshuggah doesn't do it for you.
Yeah, it's not Meshuggah. It's Meshuggah's fault.
We can only see Bleed so many times, guys.
I want to see Bleed, but with Converge, like doing it.
Also love that record, that Ultimate collab record. It's quite young, so it just came out. It's a weird thing when you put together a top 10 list, because a lot of bands like to do this tactic where they drop it a bit later so it's still fresh in your mind. I'm wondering if this album still sticks in my mind, let's say 5-6 months from now. But right now, I'm listening to it a lot. I'm a huge Chelsea Wolf fan, not a Converge fan. It's just never resonated with me, but the sorceress voice of Chelsea Wolf really has been haunting me since I discovered her when I was doing a cross-Canadian tour with Guar. And, loved it ever since then.
Yeah, honestly, it's Converge for me. Like, Converge is just like, I love the artwork also. Like, I got 2 prints of Jacob Bannon in my room. So, like, I'm a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of the music in general. Like, I love the recent ones. It's more like melodic in a way, but it still, like, hits you in your face. Like, I just, like, I've listened to The Dusk and Us, like, I don't know how many times. I just don't fucking know. I just, like, it's so good. I just love it. And I love the voice of Chelsea Wolf. It's so good. That album is great.
Wooderson, give us your number 9.
So my number 9 is that collaboration between Converge and Chelsea Wolf.
Perfect.
Oh, no, not again.
I did not do that on purpose.
Really actually, Phil made a comment today in the chat. He's like, hey, your number 9 is my number 9. Nice.
Perfect. What's your reasoning for putting this in your top 10?
Well, I've been listening to Converge for a long time, like since the early days there. And for me, they're always one of those bands where I don't feel their music is forced. I feel they're able to kind of evolve, add things, change things, as with every album, everything's a little bit different. And like, they even did that Wolverine Blues EP, right? I don't know if you've heard that, but it's like, I think it was like 5 or 6 different singers, and each and it was just Wolverine Blues being covered on each one. I thought that was interesting. And the thing with Chelsea Wolfe, like I totally adore her music. Always have for a long, long time now. And when she sings, there's almost like a little bit of an earthy feel to it. And I think between what Converge can bring and what she can bring, it's, I don't know, it's like it's not an inferno of riffs or blast beats or anything like that, but it's more like a smoldering fire that's never going to go out. And I absolutely love it. So yeah, I think it's a solid album the whole way through. Yeah.
Amazing. It sort of has like a vibe almost of Mariner with Culta Luna and Julie Christmas, the same sort of collaboration in that vein.
Yeah, Julie Christmas needs to release something new. But
please,
anyways,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Jimbo, number 9 position.
Yeah, so my number 9 was, I think, it was one of the 2 real surprise packages for me on the list, which is Archspire Bleed the Future. And the thing is that, like, I think the older I get, the less sort of super technical death metal I've listened to. Like when I first got into death metal, I don't know, 20 odd years ago, I immediately, like, I think my first bands were like, you know, was probably like Suffocation. And then I got drawn into very, very technical stuff, you know, because it seemed very flamboyant and interesting and stuff. But I think I've become less interested in that sort of stuff. And the previous Archspire albums that I'd sort of heard bits and pieces. It just didn't do it for me. But this album, it just, in principle, it's an album that I shouldn't have liked, but everything on it just works so fucking well. Everything's it's produced incredibly well. It's really, you know, I'm not a musician, but it's clearly like super, you know, they're super accomplished. It's very, very technical, but it's heavy as fuck. It's catchy. It's like, it's very technical, but also very accessible. It's just, I was just blown away by it. And I threw that on again today while I was like typing up notes to remember all these albums. And I listened to every album that's on my list again today. And I was just still like, just headbanging like crazy to this album. And so this was really surprising for me because in principle, I didn't go into it thinking this is an album I'm going to like. And then everybody on the review crew was talking it up. So I checked it out and I was just floored by it. It's phenomenal. It should be higher on my list, really.
I also really enjoyed it. And David Taro, the producer, killed it on this one. And them taking the time to be there and living in the studio. He has an Airbnb behind the studio and bands go and live with him. That wraps up number 9. Let's go into number 8. The Metal Architect. Give us your number 8.
Number 8 was Obsession, Rod of Ages. This is newer Swedish old school death metal band off of Transcending Obscurity Records. And I don't even think I had it on my like to listen list for the playlist. Transcending Obscurity will drop free download codes for Bandcamp. And a buddy of mine tagged me in it and he's like, hey, you should check this out. It hasn't officially dropped, but you know, check it out. So I grabbed the download code and listened to it. I was absolutely floored. It's probably some of the best Swedish old school death metal from this year. It has that signature HM2 buzzsaw tone, but it almost has some brutal aspects to it as well. It just beats you down to a pulp the whole time you're listening to it, and it doesn't really let up until the end. The last song is like an instrumental song. But throughout the whole thing, it's just like pummeling and just, I loved it. It totally took me by surprise. Like I said, I'd seen some reviews for it and I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. And then when I got that free code, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely going on the playlist. And this may sneak into the top 10 because it just came out a few weeks ago. I think it came out the end of November.
It's so stressful when you have a list that you've been building the whole year and then these late comers that you haven't been expecting come in and just you have to make those hard decisions of who you cut.
yeah there was some really good stuff that got cut. I mean, Frozen Soul was on my list all year and we'll see.
The Whispers from the Void boys. Evan, number 8.
Yeah, Frozen Soul was on my list, and then I had to drop them because something else came out that was fucking amazing. I know Woody loves it. I'm gonna go. I went with 200 Stab Wounds, Slave to the Scalpel. I fucking love this record. I was able and lucky enough to see these guys live when they were touring. Their last day was in Worcester. I did a review of the show. Dude, they are, every little bit of hype you've heard about them, they are 100% authentic. They fucking kill live. And I will say this, for as brutal as they are and as their mixes sound and the vocals and everything about that, it's like the exact same. And I find that to be unique because a lot of the time we get these old school death metal bands that have the persona of old school death metal and they kind of like sound like it on records, but then you see them live and then they lack that sort of maybe, you know, I will say danger. They lack like that fear that is in the air. I'll tell you right now, it was crazy all night. 200 Stab Wounds started and they went fucking nuts, and like everyone went fucking nuts. Like fear for your life fucking out there. So they're absolutely killing it. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys play again. And if they come to you, you have to see it at least once. You just have to see it once.
Amazing. Another maggot stomp success story. Philip.
Go figure, right?
That's such a great sentence, Matt, because taken out of context, no one's going to know what the fuck that means. And this is another maggot stomp success story. Oh, yes.
Oh my God.
Philip, well. Number 8.
Okay, number 8 is Dead World Reclamation, Aura of Iniquity. If you haven't checked it out, we made a review for Vox&Hops, so check it out. I love that album a lot. Like, at first I was like, oh, it sounds too much Black Dahlia Murder, but then like Evan over there just told me, imagine it's Shadow of Intent with Inferi and Black Dahlia Murder, and the meme of the guy that just made just kind of came in my mind, and I was like, now I'm just like hooked by that album. So good. The riff are just like well chose, and I love it. Like I would say I love it to every album, but just like this one got this vibe, like. For me, it's a new type of Black Dahlia Murder. I love Black Dahlia Murder, don't get me wrong, but this is just like, whoa. It's just Black Dahlia Murder, but over 9,000. Just going like, ow. It's hot. You take the series, it's like, oh, yeah, no, I love that album a lot.
It's awesome.
Number 8.
Are they independent? I feel like they are.
Huh? What did you say?
Are they independent?
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, they are.
See, that's
they are
cool.
Independent.
That's cool. I like that.
Go check the review if I don't say like any BS.
Jimbo, number 8.
There's a Swedish band called Dödsrit with their album Mortal Coil. So they're sort of a blend of black metal and crust. There's a lot of black and crust around these days, and I really got heavily into crust in the last few years. You know, Northern Europe's a good place to be into it, and this new Dödsrit album is fantastic. So it reminded me a bit of the last Skeleton Witch album. So parts of it are almost like the atmospheric black metal, or it's quite melodic, almost black gazy at times, but they incorporate these other elements that are more common to sort of hardcore and crust. So there's these breakdown sections and then these flat out D-beat sections that give it this very different energy. And it's just a phenomenal album. I mean, all 3 of the Dödsrit albums, I think they've put out like 3 albums since 2016 or something. All 3 of them are basically equally good. You should listen to all of them. They're fantastic. But yeah, this is another cool one, and great artwork, super cool merch as well. So I was stoked for this.
Dave and Emily are right that it's another sentence that can be taken out of context.
What did I say? I can't remember.
Let me go back. Hold on. There's a lot of black and crust around, and I've really gotten into crust.
I love it.
I've never been in the crust.
Put that on
The
your
thing
neck
is that
shirt.
when I talk, I don't actually think about what I'm saying. I'm just like, I've just got the blinkers on and I just talk, but I have no idea what just came out of my
it was
mouth.
perfectly. It's just
Feel free to use that in the promo, man.
Wooderson, go for it.
That's awesome. My number 8 is Eastwood Antibiosa. So I think the English translation for that would be antibiosis. So I actually reviewed this one for the Vox and Hops site there. And I said in that review that it was the grindcore album of the year. And that was, I think I did that back in July or August. And we're in December now, and I'm going to stand by that statement. I don't think there's another grindcore album that comes even quite close to this one. It's intense. It's made up of guys from France and Germany. It's freaking lethal. They do the whole power violence thing as well. So bands like Spaz are crossed out. I'm a huge fan of that stuff as well. So for me, it's just pure ripping. If you're waiting for the new Napalm Death, whenever that's going to come out, this will gladly take that spot for now. It is, I think it's like a whopping 23 minutes and like 19 or 20 songs or whatever it is, but highly recommended. It's a ripper for sure. So
Fantastic. That wraps up your number 8s. Let's dive into number 7s. But first, the Metal Architect is going to introduce his beer of the night.
I have got from Celestial Beer Works here in Dallas, their Stellar Remnants Hazy with Citra and Galaxy hops. These guys are killing the hazy game right now.
Dude, that color's amazing.
Yeah, they do all kinds of hazies, Berliner Weisses, stouts, sours. I mean, they are just absolutely killing it. I went last year during my little anniversary tour with the wife, grabbed some stuff from them, totally blown away. What my local bottle shop gets a lot of their stuff in. So I go over there, and so I don't have to drive into Dallas. I can just go over there and grab whatever the hell I want, make a 6-pack. But yeah, they've been getting a lot of their stuff in, really killer stuff.
Amazing. Number 7.
So number 7 is a band from, I believe they're from South Dakota. It's a black metal band called Woman is the Earth, and their album is Dust of Forever. Another one that came out of nowhere, never heard of them before. They're fairly new. They do kind of that Cascadian post-black sound with really like dissonant riffs in the vocals way back in the mix, sounding like it's coming from like a wounded animal in the night. It's super catchy riffs. I listened to it for the playlist. It was on there. And I just kept coming back. I think I listened to it 3 or 4 times that first weekend it was out and bought it. And just, it's fantastic little album. And if you're a fan of post-black, go for it. You won't be disappointed.
Cascadian Coast Black is a good name for a black IPA from Steph.
There you go.
I like that. Make one, Steph. The boys from the Whispers from the Void podcast, starting with Evan, who just got a new beer. I saw him, he went and got a new beer.
I did. Well, I have a new desk, so my beer fridge is now right here. I have a craft beer fridge, and then I have a domestic beer fridge because I'm fancy. But I grabbed a Three Floyds Brodew. It's a Harvest Ale.
Very nice.
It's pretty good. Had it before. Highly recommend. As I recommend this one, I have Werewolves, What a Time to Be Alive.
I don't like you.
Oh my God. I don't like you. I fucking hate you. And that's pretty much it, like my feelings on most random people I meet. Because dude, it's been a crazy year. And I remember when this dropped, it dropped like right in the beginning of the year, like January. And it's always stuck with me. As far as tech goes, like, you know, there was obviously Archspire and things like that. You had Inferi, Abiotic. It was a great year for tech death, but nothing really overshadowed the fact that Werewolves was just like it was just so fucking brutal. The lyricism was just off the charts. And dude, I can't imagine that like three dudes are just fucking, you know, somewhere like killing the shit. Like
the
just
nicest
randomly
humans from Australia.
Yeah, just coming up with this stuff on a whim. And it's just like, it's incredible. And so it's always stuck with me. And I've loved it. It was always in my top 10 from the beginning of the year. It has made it all the way through still. Yeah, I love Werewolves, man. It is a fucking great album. Check it out.
Yes, everyone definitely should, and get ready for the next one because it's going to be very cool, such as my next beer, which I've never had, and I'm excited for it. It is from Eralbach. It's called Veria, and they mess up. It's in New England that they mess around with different experimental hops and stuff. This one, it features Eclipse hops, 6.5% ABV. I'm going to crack this while Philip, the other half of Whispers from the Void, tells us what his number 7 is.
My number 7 is Endseeker Mont Carcass. That album, you know, like this guitar sound, the HM2 sound, the buzz, like it just like it's not even a guitar. Not even a guitar. Just like it sounds like a buzz saw. You just take a tune and just like cut wood with it. It just sounds like that. But it's just so amazing. I love this type of sound, like the Slaughter of the Soul, like the At the Gate sound. This is great. I just love it. I love those type of sound. When I heard that, I was like, okay, that feels like very At the Gates vibe. And I heard Mont Carcass. I was like, oh shit, so good. I love it. So it's number 7. Like it could have been like higher, but yeah, this one I felt like a number 7. So I was like, yeah, Endseeker is so good. Go listen to it. You have to.
This poured out gorgeous hazy, super killer juiciness, a little melon on the hops there going on in the mouth there. Very smooth, almost like creamy. Very cool. Veria from Eralbach. Jimbo, number 7.
All right. I think I made a mistake and said that Dödsrit was my number 7 because I can't count. That's why I became a biologist. So anyway, my actual number 7 is Sephiroth, band out of the Netherlands with Condemned to Suffer. And like I was talking earlier about how like Suffocation were basically the first death metal band I ever got into. And ever since I've always been drawn to that particular kind of like East Coast style US death metal, but I find that it's very difficult to find bands that really, you know, have the complete package and really do it for me with that mix of like technicality, brutality, groove, and intensity. But this Sephiroth album is all over it. It's just an incredible album. I think it's a track called 6 Times the Charm is like, for me, it's the death metal song of the year. It's a fantastic album, fantastic song. It's just track after track. And it's not a long album. So you just slam through it. It leaves you wanting more at the end of it. I can't speak highly enough of it. And this was a band that for me was completely under my radar. They've been around for a while, and this new album is just awesome.
Love when that happens, and I think it's a magical thing that extreme metal bands have to figure out is keeping it just the right length where the listener is satisfied but automatically wants to go back and push play again. 32 minutes, 33 minutes seems to be a sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's something I didn't pay so much attention to when I was younger, probably because I listened to a lot of Opeth. It just wasn't that important to me. And I listened to long-ass songs. And like that Bell Witch album from a few years ago that was just what, a 73
Mirror Reaper.
Song. Yeah, that was incredible. That was like my album of the year for that year. So I'm not against long songs.
I love that.
But there's sometimes you just want an album you can belt through in, like a Deicide album or something. You can just get through it in half an hour.
Love it. Wooderson.
Yeah. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but I saw Bell Witch open for Yob. And I think they played 2 songs. And that was like probably one of the best opening acts I've ever seen in my life. It was
unbelievable.
It was devastating.
Did you have to change your underwear?
You know what? I did, but I didn't though. So I just kind of went with it. So to see what happened. So yeah. All right. So number 7 for me is The Silver, Ward of Roses. So fairly new, right? Just probably in the last month or so that it came out. And I really haven't spent a huge amount of time with this album, but I mean, I think it says a lot, at least for me anyways, that here it is at number 7. I really love layers in my music. And in the listens that I've given this so far, I feel like I'm only scratching the surface. I think there's so much going on with it. And it's going to be one of those albums it's going to be on repeat for a while. Like you have a couple of guys from Horrendous, you have somebody from Crypt Sermon. So the quality is there for sure. And the styles range, you have traditional metal, black metal, it's all there. You know, it's bleak as can be, but there's like an underlining sense of hope as well, which is cool.
Super rare in extreme metal.
Yeah. I suggest giving it a shot for sure. So
amazing. That's it. That's number 7. Moving on, number 6. Back to where we start. The Metal Architect, number 6.
My number 6 is that Artspire Bleed the Future. I'm not a big tech death guy. It's got to be done right for me to appreciate it. But this thing, man, I can't say enough good things about it. It's just in your face. It's fast. It's aggressive. Just nonstop. And how he got all that in the mix is just beyond me. And that last song just absolutely blew my mind. That was the perfect song to end the album with. But I mean, I bought the album the day it came out because I was that impressed with it after I listened to it. I think it was the first thing I listened to that day. I was just absolutely floored by it. I hadn't really been a huge fan of theirs prior to that. But yeah, this one definitely took me by surprise as well and enjoyed it. And I still listen to it probably once a week, twice a week.
Very impressive. And they nailed that perfect time for an album on that record, I find. It's just the right length. Just totally hits that feeling. The Whispers from the Void, boys, starting with Evan, number 6.
So my number 6, I'm gonna start by saying this. When Matt first asked me and Phil to do these reviews, I immediately thought of, okay, I need to search Bandcamp because I don't do it enough. And I wanted to really focus on bands that need the love, that necessarily don't get the love, a lot of independent acts. And this year we were able to find a lot of great bands. All of us were great bands that just really needed the exposure, because that's really what this is all about. And my number 6 is really like a nice little badge that I like to wear, because I don't know how I found this band, but I did. It's Gravelence, and the album is Anthropomacy. I can't speak, so. But it's really an EP. I have 2 EPs on my top 10, and the reason being is that I don't really discriminate, because if it's good and it has the chops, it has the chops. So it deserves to be on there. And this nice little bundle of joy just has all sorts of elements that you would want in sort of like a brutal old school style. And it really, starting from the album cover, which is just grotesque and beautiful. I just really love the band. It sounds like such a seasoned act already, even in such a small sample size. And so it just gets me very excited about what they can do in the future. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys got and where they can go from here. Because if you can start this heavy and this brutal and establish yourself this much with just a small EP, the sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit. You look at 200 Stab Wounds that I have on my list. They also had a fantastic EP that came out just the year before. So you can skyrocket. Definitely keep them on your radar.
Very exciting, and I'm loving the underappreciated artists approach, and that they actually made the list this year. It's you hunting and then finding something that actually stuck with you, and I think that's amazing. Philip's pouring out a beautiful beer, which he will introduce to us, and I think I know what it is. It's from BG Brasserie Urbaine. It's the Norway beer.
Exactly. I found it like at the same time than the Ale of the Fathers, because I've been to that place in Quebec called L'Impact. and they just have all the beers you want.
Amazing.
And like I was with my friend, we walked like 20 minutes from her home, and we're like, okay, let's go get some beer. And I knew I wanted the ale of the fathers. I saw the ale, I was like, let's get all of it that it can have. And then I saw the Norways. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to be broke. So let's just take one of each and the Norways.
It's called Norway's Red. Am I crazy?
Norway Red, which is like Flanders Red inspiration. And it was like fermented with some Kvik yeast.
Some wild yeast, yeah.
And it was like aged 2 years in wine barrels. And I assume it's like Cabernet Sauvignon, but I'm not sure about it. Maybe we'll have to ask the guys. But I think tonight I feel very Cabernet Sauvignon, so I love it. Number 6, Necrotic Gore Beast, Human Defiance Galore. It's my only slam band in my list, but it's good friends of mine. John Mayer is just a fucking beast. That guy is a beast. Big friend of mine. Like he's living like at 30 minutes from me, so I could just see him make a barbecue, and yeah, I could. But yeah, that album, one word, fisting. Just one fucking word, fisting.
Is that like a Quebec thing? Like, is this why you're not fucking
nobody says this.
No one says this. I'm just saying that band, because like, you know, slam band loves to have some theme around it. Some loves like aliens, some's like some party cannon and party and all. But them, they just love to be like bestial and primitive. And I don't know why. They just love songs about fisting. I don't know why. I think
consensual
it's like
fisting.
Bill, do you know what fisting is? We'll check back after.
But
I mean, they say write about what you know, right? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously, musically, it's just fucking great. Alex, which is the bassist and most of the song, he just got it. Like he just nailed the slam sound, the slam instrumental. I love it. And just the gurgling, like guttural voice of John Mayer. I saw him do it live and in studio because he participated in my EP. And fuck, that guy is a magician. He's a magician. I don't know how he's doing it, but wow, I just love it.
Give a shout out. Give a shout out to your band. Go for it.
Yeah. I will get a little shout out to Overdose of Bacon. I don't want to do it too much, but let's do it. Overdose of Bacon. Go check it out. Please, love you.
Amazing. Jimbo, number 6.
Yeah, so I just switched beers, and I'm kind of blown away because this is the first good German porter I've ever had. Like, I've had good stouts because they seem to. This is going to sound bad, but they know what the style is. But porters, they fuck up every single time. They're always these unbelievably, like, cloyingly sweet but 5% alcohol dark beers, and they're just gross. German dark beers generally are phenomenal, but porters are just, it's like a blind spot. I don't know why, but this is by Riedenburger Brauhaus. It's called Dolden Dark. It's a 6.9% alcohol robust porter, and it's really good. Super dry, very roasty. Could be a little bit more complex on the nose, but I'm not complaining at all because I expected this to be bad and it is not. So I'm thrilled. Okay, so my number 6 album was from a Czech band called Snět. I had to look up the pronunciation because it's got regular letters, but they've got squiggles on them, so I don't know what that means. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the album name in case the band
come on,
hears
you
this.
Can do it.
Okay, we'll go with the Mokvani v Okovec.
There you go.
So yeah, these days Google Translate will actually pronounce words for you if you stick them in. So that's helpful. Anyway, this is like some Morbid Angel influenced Czech old school death metal. And once again, this is a debut album, and it is just unbelievably good. It's got all these like twisting riffs. I think the album comes in a little bit under 30 minutes. It's just phenomenal. I mean, I heard this album and I had no idea. I can't even remember. A guy put me onto this album, and he's not normally a death metal guy, or as far as I know. And he said, "Oh yeah, check out this. It's fantastic. It's metal album of the year. Go and check this out." Snyet. And I'd never heard of them because they hadn't put out any albums. And it's just everything I look for in an old school death metal album. It's so good. I'm kind of gushing about it, but it's another one of those albums where, like what Jerry was saying, it's just like the Archspire album. It's just one of those albums I can put it on almost every day or every couple of days and just slam through it, and it's phenomenal.
Impressive, and I enjoy that it's another debut record. So the pandemic did good things when it came to extreme metal. I'm very, very impressed. Wooderson, let's wrap up this number 6.
Yeah, number 6 for me is The Ruins of Beverest. So the Thule Grimoires. Very layered for sure. A huge range of influences, post-rock, rock, black metal. And I think almost like the best way to describe this band is like every album they do is their best album until the next album is what it is, right? It's like they keep getting better.
So much pressure.
And they're fantastic though. Like I don't even know if you'd even consider it black metal anymore. I think there's just so much going on. Like essentially it's, I guess if you wanted to, you can call them like the Devin Townsend of black metal in a way. So yeah, great stuff for sure. Yeah.
Here we are. We've reached the halfway point. I'm having fun. I hope everyone else is having fun. Thirsty Thursday gang that's here with us. So you guys having a good time? Unmute yourselves, make some noise so that everyone knows that we are actually doing this in front of a live hang.
Yeah. What's up?
Hey!
Number 5, the metal architect, Jerry Monk himself.
Number 5 for me was that Werewolves album. What a time to be alive. Just a straight up ass kicking from start to finish. I mean, these guys we know that they are seasoned veterans. They all have their own other bands, so they already have the chops. But man, this was a super hyped up album after their last one that came out in January of 2020. So as soon as I saw they're dropping another one, I was like, okay, definitely going to check this out. And it instant pre-order as well. But yeah, these guys just absolutely kick ass. And I'm super excited to hear the next one because I know that's coming soon-ish. I haven't seen a release date, but I love this album. It's another one of those I can throw on at any time and just, if I'm at work or in the car or on a walk, I can just throw it on and it's just like helps me keep my pace.
I don't like you. I fucking hate you.
Yeah. Right out of the gate, it's just like blast.
This is radioactive.
Yeah, right out of the gate, it's just like in your face and blast beats galore the whole time. It's like you can't breathe when you're listening to it.
His lyrics are just some of the most vile things that I've listened to, and he's quite clear as he screams. So
yeah, I'd like to hear some of the stuff that they said. Hey, no, we can't say that. I want to see the NC-17 cut.
Number 5 from the Whispers from the Void Boys, starting with Evan.
My next one is Craven Idol Forked Tongues. I found this record in a daze. I was actually just sort of like kind of roaming through, found it. And what attracted to me is obviously like what attracts me to beer. It's the album cover. I love the sort of like, Renaissance, like how black metal does like their Renaissance fucking looking covers and shit. But I never knew black metal could be so fucking brutal. Like, Jesus Christ. It's just straight fucking speed from start to finish. Surprisingly groovy, and really just has so many little technical things inside of it. It's really just like an ultimate hybrid child. I love it. And the vocals really in this kind of carry the whole album. And there's really something about like old school thrash, like Slayer. Like there's like a Slayer element to the vocals that kind of carried along and keeps you engaged because there's obviously so much going on musically. So it was a pleasant surprise to find this one. I knew right away it was going to be on the list. So
amazing. De Vitesse, the other half of the Whispers from the Void podcast, number 5.
Yeah, before that, I just want to put a little thing about Deadwood Reclamation. I said they are independent, but they just signed, like on October 10th, they announced they signed with Neck Twister.
Oh, that's cool. See? But I think when we released the review, they were independent.
Yeah. When they released when we released the review, they were independent, but
well, good for them. Congrats to the wonderful humans from Dead World Reclamation for getting signed.
It's just like it's Brian that just put in the chat. Oh, they are signed now, and I just forgot that part. But yeah, number 5, Dune. Etaman Enka. I think I pronounced it right. I'm not sure.
I think it's Etaman, but yeah.
Etaman?
I think it's
Etaman Enka.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So that album is just like, it's a journey. It's a journey. I love prog. I'm a big prog guy, so I love what I heard about that album. It's just like, it's number 5 for a reason. Just like, it's so great. I love it. Like, I put it like on a 3 hours drive to go like in Gaspésie, and I was just like transported in another world. And I was like, oh shit, it's so good. I love it. Yeah, it's just great album. You don't put it like with your friends though. You have to listen to it like from the first to 10th. You don't put it like, hey, it's Dune, it's that song from Dune. Like, okay, you can do it if you are with prog head. But like if you put it like with your girlfriend that doesn't like metal or prog, like she won't like it. But this is just great. I love it. Like you have to listen to it as a song. You don't have to listen to it as like many songs, but one song, one huge song, like Bell Witch, for example, but a song.
Bell Witch quite literally made one song. So quite literally did that.
Just like that, I've listened to the Bell Witch, and I had like 3 times to listen to it because I wasn't able to do it in one time. But
when that first came out, it was when I had trouble sleeping, and even to this day, I will play that record and I will fall asleep. That tells you the mental state that I live.
That's not. It doesn't really sound like an endorsement of the album, but I know what you mean.
No, it doesn't. Bell Witch makes you see. But yeah, coming back to number 5, yeah, Dune, great album. Go listen to it. And if you want to enter in prog, I think it's a good entry to go in prog in a way.
It's like a lot of crossover going on.
Yeah, it's not too prog. It's not enough prog. It's just like it's a perfect balance of the prog genre, I think.
On that note, Jimbo, number 5.
So I mentioned that Archspire was the first surprise, but the massive surprise for me was that I think like 2 days ago or 3 days ago, Negura Bunget from Romania put out an album which will be their last album called Zo. And I saw these guys in 2014, I think it was. And then after that, I knew that their drummer had passed away. He's fairly young, it was unexpected. And as far as I knew, the band had called it a day. What I didn't know is that they'd been working on a new album using recordings of him drumming that they had. And they spent, I think, the better part of 5 years putting together this album, and they've just released it. And from then, I had to make space in my top 10, and it started at number 10 and it's now at number 5. And that's happened in the space of a day because I've listened to basically nothing else but this album. It's just incredibly. So Negura Bunget they're sort of an unusual band. They're a black metal band, but they incorporate a lot of woodwind instruments, like traditional, I guess it's Romanian folk don't really know. I couldn't tell you if it wasn't. But they incorporate these. It's very eerie. It always has like a haunting atmosphere. It's very, very unique band. And I think this, I honestly hadn't listened to the couple of albums they put out before this, but I think this might be my favorite album from them. It's just, it's hard, really hard to describe. At times there's like chanting and these folk instruments that start to sound a little bit like almost like Latin American folk music or Japanese traditional music. Maybe it is influenced by that. I don't know. Maybe this is what Romanian folk sounds like. And then you have it cutting into it. You have these really great synths and black metal vocals and fantastic like black metal, like classic black metal tremolo riffs. And it's just, the whole thing is very, very ethereal. It's very spooky. And this is their last album. This is like a tribute to their drummer. And then that's it. So this is a really great way to close out the band. I mean, obviously not ideal, but it's fantastic album. If I had another couple of weeks, this could be in my top 2, I think.
Well, I'm excited about that. I want to listen to that right now. I'm excited, very excited. I'm definitely going to check that out after this, if not tomorrow. Dan, give us your number 5.
Number 5 is a Canadian band. So Parallax Occlusion, and the EP is called Ray Traces of Death. I don't know much about this band at all. It's 2 guys from Toronto, and they add a third guest to do the vocals. There's really I can't find any information at all on these guys. But it is by far probably one of the heaviest things that anybody will hear this year. So it's like a little bit of old school death, but there's definitely a lot of technicality to it as well. Enough that these, I would say the songs would fit right in on a Tomb Mold or a Blood Incantation album as well, right? So only 3 songs. It goes by pretty quick, but yeah, another one. I can't recommend it enough. It's a solid album for sure. So EP.
Top 5s are gone. Moving into the top 4 with the Metal Architect. Jerry Monk, what is your number 4 of your top 10 of 2021?
Number 4 for me is another recent one. It's Stormkeep, Tales of the Other Time. It's a black metal band. It's I guess you could say it's a side project because 3 of the 5 guys are in Wayfarer, which is another black metal band. They're all from Denver. So, I mean, shout out to the Denver metal scene. Just absolutely killing it right now. It's symphonic style black metal. There's a lot of dissection vibes on this one. James in the chat saying it's fucking incredible. I agree. I've listened to this one I don't know how many times as well. Even there's a couple of interlude tracks. I always skip instrumentals. Even those I find myself listening to and enjoying. It's just killer black metal. This is their first full length. They put out an EP last year, which was really cool as well. A lot of like medieval vibes as well on it, especially in the interludes with those medieval style instruments. But yeah, I can't say enough great things about this. I got to buy it tomorrow on Bandcamp Friday as well. So definitely going to be getting that tomorrow. But yeah, that's my number 4, Stormkeep, Tales of Another Time.
Phenomenal. Whispers from the Void boys. Evan, kick it off, number 4.
So my number 4 comes at a recommendation from Jerry Monk. I think everyone here can honestly say that we live on these Jerry Metal Architect recommendations. Ever since I started, I've been amazed by the guy's ability, and even the other 2 guys that I'm with here. I'm amazed by the ability to find bands in these cracks, but they're just so amazing. And so this is the second EP that ended up on my list. At number 4, I have Fossilization, He Whose Name Was Long Forgotten. And I've loved this ever since Jerry showed me. Because, man, it is absolutely fucking killer. Brazil is fucking a beautiful place. What a beautiful place, huh? Jupiterian. That's where these guys are basically from. They dropped a fucking great album last year that I loved. And these, some members were kind of did their own little side project, and man, it's fucking. I mean, what else? There's really not much to say about it other than the fact that like you have to experience the feeling that goes with this album. This album has such a unique feel to it all because the pace constantly changes and the pace sort of plays around. It's more slow at times and then picks up real fast and just really gives you a true sense of like what it means to be buried beneath the ground. It's truly incredible. I love it.
Philip, the other half of the Whispers from the Void podcast.
But yeah, number 4, Stone Eater Conquistador. I have the album over here because I love that album so much. I ordered the CD. Why not? So yeah, Conquistador, like it was very recent in a way because like I had that album since like the release of that album. But because like, I don't know why Bandcamp didn't send me like the link to have the download. So I had to wait for the album and I forgot to put the album on my phone. So I forgot to listen to it a few times, but I listened to it a few times after like when I put it on my phone. Fuck. Prog. I love prog. You know I love prog. I'm a big prog guy, and it's an evolution. It starts with rock. Rock with cowbell. There's fucking cowbell in the death metal album. I love it. I just love it. Like you hear the cowbell, you're like, dong, dong, dong. You're like, oh, you want to add bang. I don't know how. It's just magic. But there's cowbell. I love the cowbell in that album. The guitar just like, it's just so like good sounding guitar. There's just two. It's like two brothers, if I remember. So like they are making that album just like so great. And yeah, that album is a great evolution. You have to listen to it. Conquistador, Stone Eater.
I love it. Jimbo, number 4.
So my number 4 is the new album from Olhava from Russia, Frozen Bloom. And this is another album that I have no idea where I even got the recommendation from this album from. It was possibly Jerry. It probably was, but it could have been from somewhere else, I suppose, in principle. But this album is just like if you're a fan of atmospheric black metal, if you want this, something that's like a snowstorm that's been transferred somehow into musical form, like this, Siberian wilderness. This album is just incredible. It's so atmospheric, so evocative. It's basically, so it's 4 tracks that are all quite long, and it's got 2 black metal tracks and 2 ambient tracks. And normally I would skip ambient tracks, but it's a bit like Jerry was saying with instrumentals. These ambient tracks are good. The thing is that honestly, you could take the ambient tracks out and have a two-track album. This album would still be half an hour long, and it would still be in the same position on the list because the black metal on this is just that good. But it's very sort of it's very black gazy. So if you're into that kind of stuff, similar once again to maybe the last Skeleton Witch album or Panopticon. If you like Panopticon, 100% go and listen to Olhava. This album was a real standout for me. It's super, super good.
Amazing. Wooderson, wrap up number 4 for us.
Number 4 for me is Sunless, and I think it's pronounced, the name of the album is Ilum, I think. So Sunless is from Minneapolis, and for me, that's almost kind of a local band in the sense that they're 8 hours away. Winnipeg was their very first show outside of the U.S., so I'm taking that as well. Yeah, and I still remember everything about that show. It was like a hero's reception when they came here. But anyways, the new album, it's technical. It's fucking ripping, to be honest, right? And I have no problems at all mentioning their name in the same breath of bands like Ulcerate or Gorguts. Like, I think they're doing something new. They're innovative. And for a young band, I think they're making waves for sure. So check it out.
Very, very, very amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. We're moving on. Number 3, The Metal Architect.
Cracked another beer. This one is also Celestial Beer Works here in Dallas. It's called Starberry. They did a collaboration with Ingenious out of Humble, which is near Houston. And it's a fruited double IPA with strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and Texas Pride. That's what the can says. But yeah, it's absolutely killer. Nice and refreshing. Want to touch on that fossilization EP that Evan was talking about. If I did EPs like included, that would be number 1 for sure. Probably the best stuff I've heard all year. Just absolutely barbaric, soul crushing death doom. I think I reviewed that for the podcast.
You did. I was quite jealous.
Well, I'm sorry, but yeah, that is definitely probably the best material I've heard all year. Is that fossilization? But my number 3 is a Montreal band, Spectral Wound, A Diabolic Thirst.
Yeah.
This is straight up 90s black metal to the T. The riffs are ferocious. They're catchy. They're just infectious. Frigid and Spellbound would be one of my top probably 3 tracks of the year. That riff is just amazing. I found these guys on their last album. I can't remember the name of it right now, but yeah, these guys are doing black metal right. And they're out on Profound Lore, I believe. Great little label. If you don't know them, definitely check them out. But definitely check out this new Spectral Wound if you're into like that old 90s Swedish, Norway, Scandinavian black metal. Definitely get on this one. Came out early in the year as well. So it's one that stuck with me the whole way through.
First half of Whispers from the Void podcast. Give us your number 3.
Let's see. My first half, I have Worm for Everglade. I mean, dude, as far as like Black Doom goes, you can't find fucking any better. You're not going to find any better. This record came out. I knew it was good. And this is when I was listening to it and I was like, we were all talking about it. It was fucking fantastic. Came out the same time as 1914s. And I was over there at the 200 Stab Wound show, and Mark from Stench Collector was there, funny enough. And he had on the Worm for Everglade shirt. And I was like, dude, it like came out fucking 2 days ago. How did you already get a shirt? And that just shows you just like how anticipated this was, because they had an album that dropped last year. And so they were obviously, cranking out the new music because it's the pandemic. What else are you going to do? And Jesus Christ, they didn't have to go as hard as they did, but they did it for us. And I appreciate it. I fucking love it, dude. You got to check this out. If you just need a nice listen and also a slight little bit of anxiety, you're going to love it.
Amazing.
Just what we need more of.
You're going to love it.
Phil, the other half of the Whispers from the Void podcast. Number 3, give it to us.
Number 3, we're going Australia again with Werewolves, What a Time to Be Alive. I think that album is just like on everyone's top.
That's
maybe.
pretty cool.
So fucking good.
No,
It just...
it is not.
Damn it.
Why did you say that? Why? But yeah, no, that album's so good. But it's not because of... I love all the songs on that album, but I think what marked me the most is at the end of Traitors and Bastard, the sample at the end. Quicker, 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 quicker. Oh no, she down in the corner. Go move, guns. Just like it marked me.
Very
That just really
aggressive.
spoke to you.
Yeah, and
Sounds like
maybe
Debbie.
it was sound distorted with my mic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people at home. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, that album is so good. I love it. It's just like it's pure brutality, pure bestiality. I love it.
Jimbo.
Is there any fisting?
No, none of that one.
Quicker, faster in the corner. Come on.
This lack of fisting disturbs me.
So that's a back print right there. Jimbo, number 3.
Hard to follow a review like that, but this is another phenomenal debut album this time from a Bavarian black metal band called Grab. The album's called Zeitlung, and this is just like when I moved here, obviously, I tried to get into the local scene is, and I realized that I never knew anything about German black metal. And honestly, it's become one of my absolute favorite scenes. So whereas Scandinavian black metal is generally a lot faster, it's a lot icier. It's music. I would say it's music for winter. German black metal's music for autumn. It's fucking gloomy. It's mid-paced. Probably takes a little bit more from, say, the old school Rotting Christ, like it's sort of mid-tempo but quite melodic with these nice melodic lines, but way fucking gloomier. And this Grub album is, if I just had to base it on the music and how much I get into the atmosphere of it, this would be my number 1 album. This album just fucking blew me away from the very outset. It's just got an incredible atmosphere, fantastic use of synths, riff after riff. Every song on this album is fucking killer. It's a concept album, I think, about a haunted old man, but basically all German black metal is about haunted old people, but sometimes they go on a hike. This guy stays at home and he dies. That's the concept. Yeah, but it's Germany, it's not all 3:30 a.m. beer sessions and music reviews. A lot of the time it's fucking bleak. So, but I absolutely love this album. So if anybody, knows, I reviewed this album earlier in the year. I think I gave some other German black metal recommendations, but if anybody is a fan of Luna Aurora, which is another super good German black metal band, you'll love this. Check it out.
Fantastic. Wooderson, let's wrap up number 3.
For sure. James, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
So my number 3 is not a metal album at all in any way. It's this band called Actors. The album's called Acts of Worship, and they're out of Vancouver. So if you're a little bit unfamiliar, imagine some of the best synth, post-punk, goth influenced sounds that you'll ever hear, right? It's dark, brooding, it's emotional. If you're one of those people that dance, I'm sure you could dance to this album. It's got the whole pulsating bass lines happening throughout all of it. The vocals are beyond catchy. They remind me of Roxy Music. You'll have to Google that one most likely, but they totally do. It sounds a little bit like Bowie as well. Maybe even Duran Duran if you're old enough to know who they are. But it's some of the catchiest, tightest songs that I've heard all year from any genre. I've listened to this album dozens of times this year, and there's dozens more coming. So yeah, I think it's fantastic.
I love it. I love the courageousness of putting it at number 3. We got 2 left. I'm going to the dark side. This is Prairies from Cinquième-Baron. If you guys do not know who Cinquième-Baron are, they are a very young brewery, 2 years old, going on 3 this year. They basically started during the pandemic, and they are killing it. Their beers will be available at Brutal Montreal, which is a festival coming up on December 17th at Corona Theater, featuring my band Cryptops, The Agonist, The Great Sabatini, Necrotic Mutation, Burning the Oppressor, and Cinquième-Baron's beers will be there. Not this one, sadly. It's a 10% stout. This one, it's killer. We got 2 left, and we will go with the Metal Architect, Jerry Monk, number 2 position. We're getting heated. We're near the end.
Uh-oh. Number 2 is Dune, Edmund Anka. This one, like everyone said, it's a great prog album. To me, it seems like they just sat down in a jam room and just whatever came to mind, like an improvisation. To me, it's not like they set out to like make anything spectacular, but it is. It's. I mean, Towers, that ending to Towers is with the synths and the breakdown is just fucking amazing. I can't say enough good things. This was my number one for a long time. I didn't think anything was gonna dethrone it. Something did. I mean, this could be 1B instead of number 2 for me because it's just that good. I listen to it all the time. If I go on a long car ride, I throw it on because it's almost an hour long. It's an amazing album. To see the growth that this band has done since their last album it's amazing. And coming from Scotland, which isn't really known for metal.
One of the main songwriters is from France, but yeah.
I mean, that's fine. But I mean, for a band based in Scotland, it's amazing because you don't hear anything really. No one's like, oh, Scotland's death metal scene is like the best in the world. Like no one, all they have there is haggis and
Party Cannon
and Party Cannon. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, this album was, like I said, almost wire to wire album of the year for me because nothing before that had really grabbed me yet. But yeah, this album is absolutely killer.
I love it. You know that I love it.
Yeah, I know you do. I mean, I sent it to you. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And
I wrote them, had him on the podcast. He put out his Spotify numbers today, and I wrote Dan, and I said, that's all me.
Yeah, it's probably me.
It's all Jerry.
It's probably both of us.
I don't use Spotify to stream music, but I was just joking. But loved it. I feel like the interludes are a bit too long on this specific, or a bit too quiet would probably be the best specification on that. Because I like interludes, but there's like moments where you think it's over if you don't know the album.
Yeah, it's definitely probably what kept it from being number one. Is some of those interludes are very long and very quiet, and you think the album's over.
Exactly.
Like, you're like, okay, it's trailing off, and then boom, another song.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
And it's still got like 3 tracks left. You're like, okay.
Court of the Matriarch, one of my tracks of the years for sure.
Yeah. That one and Towers are neck and neck for the best songs on that album. But definitely check out Dune. That's with a V, not a U, not like the movie.
Obviously, it has a V.
I think it's inspired by the movie or
heavily,
but
yeah.
Okay, it is. But yeah, it's an excellent album. I can't say enough good things about it.
Whispers from the Void, Evan Welch.
I switched beers real quick. I have another one. Yeah, it's a Kings County Brewers Collective, superhero sidekick. I mean, it's fantastic. What else can I say?
Amazing.
Jimbo, I'm going to try to pronounce this album title, but you might have to help me if I butcher the shit out of it because
Is it
as you
Australian?
know, if you're free... No,
that's
it's
the only
German.
thing I know how to pronounce.
Oh, can you pronounce German?
Oh, bit.
Well, fucking probably better than me. Anyway, number 2, I went with Canon Fiber. It's called Menschenmühle. I have no idea how else to say it.
I think it's Kanonenfieber and Menschenmühle.
Okay, thank God someone can talk. What
Which
I will say about
means like if like a mill, like a grinding mill for humans.
Yes,
The mention is people,
yeah.
so it's a mill
Yeah.
that you would feed humans into.
So the album is very heavily based upon World War I and the victims of World War I, and it's about it actually has historical letters, documents, and firsthand accounts from soldiers, and so that's what all the songs are about. So it's all sort of historical. There isn't really anything that they put into it, any special stuff, which I find very fascinating because they were able to make a whole fucking basically atmospheric black metal album about it. What I will say about this is the same guy who did this project also did another project we reviewed, an album called Sisyphus by Leiba. And I am also pretty sure that the same guy who did those two projects, those two records, is also the same guy who is Noisebringer Records. So if I could nominate a person for a metal dude of the year, it's that guy, because Jesus Christ, he put out 2 beautiful records, both very different, but obviously this one stands alone as a masterpiece in my mind. It's absolutely fantastic. Everything you want in an atmospheric black metal, like James was talking about, we have all sorts of like the German black metal element, which is so far unique and so in its realm. It truly is something that it really just kind of it engulfs you. The whole album just really engulfs you. It gets you going. I tried to sort of like take the lyrics and see if I could, Google translate them, but that just got too crazy. So I just started I just went with it. Whatever he's saying, it's awesome. That's all I know. And the album just really has a great, atmospheric black metal. It just has great feeling, great power. I mean, there's not much else to say. Funny enough, it was my number 1 for a long time. It survived for a while because it came out in February. And so I had this one very high up on my list for a while. But once we get to number 1s, you'll see why it ended up in the number 2 slot.
Very, very interesting. I like that very much. And I love the historical content. If anyone knows how I write lyrics for Cryptopsy, they'll understand why I think that's so goddamn interesting. Definitely something that I would have done. The other half of the Whispers from the Void podcast, Philip, what is your number 2 selection for this year?
Number 2, it's Knockloose, a tear in the fabric of life.
Dude, it's so good. So angry.
It's angry. It's rare that I put like an EP on my list, but this one is just like, wow. It just impressed me so much. I love Knockloose a lot. I love that. Even though people are just like, the vocals, I don't like it.
This one's better unique. Though. This one's better than the pre. I don't know why.
Love all the Knockloose. Counting Worms is the most popular, but I just love that song. Just so good. It hits at the right place. But speaking of like a tear in the fabric of life, this one you have to listen to it as one song. And I'm not joking. If you listen to it like as 6 songs, you will lose it. You will lose it because like you will not understand. Like there's a story. I don't even understand. I understand a bit of the story. It's like there's an accident and it's like a soul in the life. I believe so. Go listen to like the video clip like on YouTube or something. Go listen to it. You have to. And listen to it like from the first song to the last song is great.
I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did because I listened to it because you told me to listen to it when we went to BG Brasil Ben together. You were really into it, and I came home and I was like, whatever, let's give it a chance. Surprised how much I enjoyed it. It's quite metal, despite them being more of a hardcore forward band.
They are hardcore, but they are also like you said, metal, but they are mixing a lot of genre in a way. And it's because that day I was with my friend Nick and we listened to it in the car. So like, it's a perfect album.
That first track, man, when that chug comes in, is just, it's so fucking good. Yeah. With his scream, that's amazing. Jimbo, number 2.
Alrighty. Also, I opened a new beer, so this is from. I can't even work out what brewery this is from. Anyway, it's called Propeller Beer. That's the name of the brewery, and it's called Nachtflug. It's an imperial stout. It's 9.1% alcohol, and it's very, very good. I actually think I prefer the previous one more, which is really surprising, as I said, but this is awesome too. So my number 2 album is And Again Into the Light by Panopticon. When I saw that Panopticon had an album coming out, because I am an almost cripplingly huge Panopticon fan, I just immediately went, it was a new album coming out, so I already know what my album of the year is. It is a great album. It's not my album of the year. I think it's so. it's the heaviest Panopticon album, I think. Definitely, like, since the first album. The first album's really, really heavy, but it's got very lo-fi production, and this album's really well produced. The heavy parts are just crushing. It's got a lot more death metal on this album than any of the previous albums, and I think that every Panopticon album is a little bit different. They've all got these unifying elements that Austin always brings in, but this one's the first one to really incorporate a lot of the death metal stuff. So you've got the black metal, the crust influence. There's that crust again. You've got the American folk, and this is much more death metal influence than previously, and it really shows through because it's a very emotionally intense album. And it's funny because this is an album that, as much as I love Panopticon, I have not listened to as many times as a lot of the other albums on this list. And I think it's actually that it's so intense that it actually becomes difficult to listen to at times. It's very, very heavy. Yeah. And it's sort of, it has this real churning element to it, which I would like if it was just, death metal about throwing people into a wood chipper, that's fine. But you get this sense that this is really about some deeply emotional shit. And it's not really troubling, but it doesn't, it's clearly not just songs about, having a walk in the woods, which sometimes Panopticon songs can come across as. So it's a great album. But it didn't make my number one spot, because it's not my favorite Panopticon album by a long shot. It's very interesting, and it's definitely a really good album.
Fantastic. Wrap us up. Wooderson, number 2, before we jump into the best albums of 2021.
Okay, so number 2 is Panopticon.
Oh shit!
Once again, I did not plan this.
Yeah, that's twice now. Yeah, number 9 and number 2. But I mean, James pretty much captured it a lot better than I ever could. So I love Panopticon almost as much as I love his brewery, right? Hammerheart out in Minneapolis there. Yeah, I mean, just like every other release. And there's a lot of layers to it. And I think James really nailed it, is that there's a lot happening here, right? Like it's ambitious. It's probably even a little bit more ambitious than some of the previous releases that he's done, for sure. And lyrically as well. Like, if, prior to this album, he released an EP, and it had to do with his child's heart surgery, right? And it was, reading the lyrics to it and the music to it, it really captured that. And I find that emotion is actually on this album as well. So with the Americana folk, the bluegrass, and there is definitely a death metal influence on this album that really wasn't present on other albums. So I don't know, for me, it might not be James's favorite album by Austin, but for me, I would say it's definitely up there. I absolutely love this album. It's fantastic. So
I want to visit this album much deeper because I have listened to it, but I haven't gone as deep as you guys. And another one that I'm very excited to revisit before I do my top 10 album with Ali Pinal from Cryptopsy and Cattle Decapitation that's coming in the next few days. Let's throw you guys a curveball before we finish this out. Without too much explanation, almost without any explanation, honorable mentions. You can do 2 of them. 2 honorable mentions, starting with Jerry Monk, the Metal Architect.
Honorable mention, I'd say Frozen Soul. That one those are local guys for me. They're out of Fort Worth. And then probably Turnstile, Blow On.
You were surprised by that,
yeah. If it hadn't been for a couple of the, I think it was like a collab, so like some other group was on those songs, I didn't really care for those songs. If it hadn't been for those 2 or 3 songs, it probably would have made my top 10. Honestly, it's just a fun album. You can put it on anytime and just have a good time. It's great.
Evan, 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah, so I have a list right here. and it's quite long, so I'll save it. I had Bludgeoned Summary Execution. That was going to be on there. That was a fantastic grind record, if you guys haven't checked that out. And an album that I've actually been playing almost all year. When I got COVID, I played it all the time. I don't know why. Maybe I was in survival mode. It was Wardrana Veteran. I don't know if I said that right, but the Wardrana album, that one was on my list. It got knocked off, but I absolutely love that record. It's not really metal. I'm a big video game guy, so I know that they did songs for like The Witcher, and they've done songs for I believe, what was it, Assassin's Creed, the latest one that came out. They did songs for that. So yes, and so they kill it. It's just fantastic, like Norwegian folk, and I love it. So I had that one going all the time. My Spotify let me know I had it going all the time, if you're wondering. So
Philip, honorable mentions, 2 of them.
I have the Nightfall Orchestra, Aromantic 2.
Hell yeah.
Love that band.
Love it.
That band is
too.
great.
That's a great album.
And I got Evil, Hell Unleashed.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Best thrash metal album of the year for me. And maybe Chris Thrash will be against me. Maybe we'll like more Exodus. But
Exodus is pretty fucking good. I don't even like thrash, but that new Exodus album rips.
Yeah, like I haven't listened to it because like I'm not the biggest fan of thrash, to be honest. I like thrash, but Evil just got it for me. It just got the brutality.
And to have old Drake come back and come and jump onto vocals.
Old Drake.
So
I want to meet
cool.
him.
He's super cool.
I want to meet that guy. He seems great.
Jimbo.
Yeah, so I'll give. If I've got to give 2, then I've got to mention the album that got bumped from the top 10 in order to include Nagura Bungat, and I felt really conflicted about it. But the new album by Mistress, Empires Vanquished and Dismantled. So this is a side project from Spectral Law, who normally does like very weird technical black metal. And this Mistress album is much more medieval influenced. It's got, I guess he must have collaborated with a lot of different artists, because it's got lots of traditional music on it as sort of interlude tracks, but they're in very different styles. So he's got a sort of a classical German, not quite opera, but like what sounds like medieval, whatever the medieval equivalent of opera is. Got traditional sort of Middle Eastern music. It's a very, very diverse album with a theme of overthrowing oppressors, and it's very, very cool. The other album that I would mention would be Moss Giver, led by the Glowing River, a very, very cool atmospheric black metal album. I didn't want my entire top 10 to be atmospheric black metal albums, so I tried to limit it to 7, which I thought was reasonable. And I also I want to, it's just been that kind of year, you know. What I want is to be immersed in the, I haven't actually been going out and walking in the forest because I've just been swamped with fucking work. So I want an album that makes me feel like I'm you know, in a forest and also a haunted old man. And if I could just take a moment, I want to include a non-metal album, which is from a friend's band, but this album absolutely blew me away. So it's like, I don't know exactly what it is, because I'm not really like a big fan of pop punk generally, but I guess that's what this is. I have no idea. But anyway, they're a band out of England called Slash Fiction, and they got an album called Gender, Trauma, and Friendship. And this album was just like, when I needed to feel good this year, I put this album on, and it's just clearly an album that's been put out by a group of 4 friends having fun making music. And it's not a dumb album, but like when I call it pop punk, it makes it sound like the lyrical content's going to be stupid. It's not. It's just very emotionally earnest and really heartfelt. And this album just incredible. I can press play on this and instantly feel uplifted. So I want to mention that as well. Beautiful.
Dan, wrap us up with the honorable mentions. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm gonna match up with Phil. I'm gonna say the Night Flight Orchestra. I love that. Yeah, I really love that album a lot. It's so fun. From start to finish, everything they do is fun. Like they have a song called White Jeans.
Dude, that was exactly the song that came to my mind.
Right? Like it's just fun. And I don't think you could listen to that album and be in a bad mood. It's cheesy and it's supposed to be cheesy. It's just great. Yeah, I really like it a lot. So, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum of that is this band called Sermon of Flames. And they released something called I Have Seen the Light, and it was repulsive. So that title alone kind of describes what they sound like. It's just dark and heavy, and it's evil in audio form is what it is. Yeah, you know what? I can't do it justice. Go give it a listen and let me know what you think. But it's very intense. The polar opposite of the Night Flight, but both worth listening to for sure. So, yeah.
The yin and yang of Wooderson. I love it.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
We're here.
We're here for my new blog.
We're here. The best albums of 2021. Metal Architect, take us to your number one album of 2021.
Number one for me is Worm for Everglade. This album is a fucking masterpiece. Through and through, this could be album of the decade material. It's some of the best death doom with black metal and even traditional death metal. There's a lot of Morbid Angel vibes on this album. These guys started off as a black metal band, and they've just kind of like honed their craft to this nasty, murky death doom with just so many different vibes on it. It's so good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was based on their previous albums, but it absolutely floored me. And like I was listening to Dune, and then I'd listen to Worm, and I'd go back and forth, and it like I said, it could be a 1A, 1B type thing, but just the atmosphere, the different elements that this guy does, because it's mainly one guy, but he has some session people that do some stuff with him. But it's just such a great album. Death Doom, there was a lot of great Death Doom this year, and this one is just top notch. I immediately bought the physical, bought a t-shirt, and I mean, just fucking amazing album. Dude, I can't say enough good things about it.
Beautiful. One half, Whispers from the Void. Evan Welch, go for it.
So my number one came very late, very late, like before, like the week of Thanksgiving late. But I kind of had heard a little bit that it was in the works or somewhere. So Derek from Tomb Mold donned a 12-string and made a fucking fantastic just orchestra of fucking beautiful magic. And I have Dreams Unending, Tides Turn Eternal as my number one for the year. It is sort of this very complex, whimsical doom record. I equate it a lot to when I first really got into funeral doom was like when I heard Bell Witch, and then obviously we talked about it a lot today because it's been a lot of comparison thrown around, but like that Mirror Reaper record really was fucking awesome. And a lot of the same feeling I got when I first heard that is exactly how I feel about this Dreams Unending. It is everything I want in my doom. It is just it just gives you such feeling. And I think that a lot of the time in metal, we're so consumed with the idea that we have to be brutal, we have to be fast, we have to be endearing, we have to be over the top, cross the line, make it crazy, and to capture something. And I think that some of the best records out there are the simplest chords with a little bit of technicality and just great songwriting. And this album sort of encapsulates like everything that you would want in sort of just like a perfect metal record. It's not over the top. It's not too far-fetched. It has its moments. It and within the some of the songs, they get a little faster. They kind of bring in like that Tomb Mold vibe where, it's like crushing blast beats and the guitars are really going. And then towards the end of the record, it has its own drawn out double kick solo sort of that with the drums. But really it's just great music, and it's just great feelings, and it just brings up a lot of things in you. And that's why I had to put it as number one. It's just absolutely crushing in all senses of emotion.
Phil, the other half of the Whispers from the Void podcast.
It is set on my shirt. I have it on my shirt. Archfire, Bleed the Future. Oh, that album is just like a slap in your face. A fucking slap in your face. I love it. I'm a big fan of Archfire since like Relentless Mutation. I love it. And yeah, Archfire is amazing. And that album got soul into it. They got like this vibe into it. Every song are just great songs. And the song Om at the end, just like bring back the fucking danger in the music. Love it. That's all I have to say.
I agree. Super brutal. Love it. Technicality was soul. Maturity. They came to it with the maturity to let everyone have their moment to shine. It's not just everyone going balls out all the time. Them living with David Terra was definitely a big part of it. And Ollie just killed it. He's so fucking good.
Everyone killed it. Toby and Dean, the guitarist, Jared and Spencer. Fuck. Everyone are great on that album. Everyone.
I love it. Jimbo, number one.
So I think in terms of how much I enjoy the music, I would regard like the top three albums are pretty much interchangeable. But my top album, and almost from basically, I think I knew within the first week of buying this album that this was going to be my album of the year. It's Velga Fluster, Darum, and Velga Fluster started out. They're a German black metal band. They're not super well known, but they started out, I don't know, I think about 2009 or so, as a solo project of a guy called Winterherz, and they've evolved from there to being like a full-fledged band. And it feels like I haven't got every album, but I've got most of their albums, and it feels really that they've been evolving up until this point. And this is really like the first album where I feel, because I've seen them live a few times, and I feel like they finally sound as good on an album as they actually sound live. And this album it's atmospheric black metal with a very epic sound, without epic in terms of like its capacity to sort of be very emotive. So it's very stirring music, and they incorporate a lot of acoustic folk into it as well. But the black metal is really emotive and ferocious. It's really good. The vocals on it are incredible. The musicianship and the riffs are great. But I think what really put this into album of the year territory for me was the concept behind the album and the lyrics behind the album. So all of the lyrics are written in a language I can't understand, because they're a German band, but they're not even written in German. They're written in a Bavarian dialect, because the band are from the mountains of southern Bavaria. So they're written in this dialect but they provide English language translations, which is very convenient. And so the whole album is about the idea of home and what home means to different people, and it examines it like in a very sort of from multiple perspectives. Like home isn't just a place where you're from; it's not just a place where you live. It's much more multifaceted than that. And I think that as a person who's lived like for many years now away from the place where I was born, even though like, so Germany is home for me, here is home, but Australia is really also home. And so it really tapped into something with me. So, and I love the concept, the way that it's expressed. And they also like, so it's this examination of a fundamental human concept, but they also work in like German folklore from Bavaria into the lyrics. It's really, really cool. And so I would say that for me, it's my album of the year because it's not only it's just a great piece of art. Like the whole package is just so well put together. It's so conceptually thought-provoking and satisfying that that's what put it in the top spot for me.
I love it. Dan, you're going to wrap this up. Before you did, I want to present this beer again. I didn't give it a little review. It's super chocolatey. There's like coffee notes. Super dark, ominous. Roasted malts, a little bitter bite, killer prairies from the second bottle. Amazing. Dan, number one spot.
My number one is a band, a trio from Nashville called, I guess, Yaucha or Yaucha. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. The album's called The Lurch. So they've been around for a bit. They have a few EPs out, and I think one or two other albums. I'm not exactly sure. But again, another one of those bands. For me, I really love layers in my music, and they have a lot to them, right? So you have the grind, the sludge, chaotic time signatures, like everything is there for me. Everything that I really love. The riffs are all twisted and churning. It's beyond heavy for sure. Vocally, I find they're pretty devastating too. I've seen some live footage, and I couldn't imagine having these guys open up for you, because I think it would be a little bit hard to follow. Like I've seen them, they leave venues in shambles. So I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, they're a great band for sure. It's the one thing that truly blows me away about this album though, is how I feel that it's underrated. I haven't really seen it on a bunch of lists, like the big magazine out there didn't have it in their top 40, which kind of blew me away. I was just blown away because it got a killer review in there, but yeah, I don't know, it didn't make it, but not the be all end all, but I highly suggest checking it out if you guys have the time. So
second curveball of the night that I have not let you guys know of. Let's throw out the one album, one release that we are most excited for coming in 2022. Jerry, go for it.
Easy answer. Half.
Evan, go for it.
Half.
Phil, go for it.
Half.
Jimbo, go for it.
It's a fucking Venom Prison.
Fuck
Very
yes.
excited.
Oh, come on.
Wooderson, go for it.
The new Werewolves album.
Amazing. We have a bunch of people here in the Thirsty Thursday gang that have been listening very patiently, very quietly, and I appreciate that from all of you. Throw us some of your best albums. Feel free to raise your digital hand. I'll call upon you. We got Grayson from the Beans and Breakdown podcast. Unmute yourself. Give us one of your top albums of 2021.
What is good, y'all? So top release of my year was Mol with Diorama. If you like black gaze and you like very emotional lyrics, fucking listen to these guys because they're fucking amazing. Kim, their vocalist, he's just a really awesome dude. And yeah, I think that they're kind of killing the game. They're taking the place of Def Heaven, in my opinion, because Def Heaven has shifted to like this weird post-punk. Not that it's bad, but it's not really black metal anymore. And I feel like Mol is really sticking to that really amazing black metal, black gaze kind of sound. So that's in my, definitely, if not my top album, it's in the top.
Definitely agree with you. Dave and Emily.
Okay, we're a little bit surprised this one didn't make anyone's list, but it's we're kind of homers here for a Montreal band for First Fragment's new album, Gloire Éternelle.
Gloire Éternelle. I cannot stop listening to this album.
Yeah, it's they're no longer tech death. I think they're kind of billing it as extreme neoclassical.
It's mental.
I think it's the opposite of what Evan just chatted about. Like it is.
It's not simple.
Over the top in every way.
It's extreme. It's like it's super elaborate.
But
it's
they
like
pull
rococo.
it off. They pull it off.
Yeah, but I mean, like simple is great. It's not like, anything that's simple is not good. Just this is super good, super complex, super ornamented. There's like a lot of, some of the tracks are kind of jazzy, like really jazzy. There's like a jazz funk thing going on. Other
flamenco.
Tracks, flamenco. Some is very Latin American influence. Then other tracks, I really hear that sort of neoclassical influence, where it's like I'm super duper into classical music. I'm like, this is extremely, like, this is so Mozart right now. But I cannot stop listening to this fucking album.
I will say real quick is that First Fragments is fucking great, but what is also cool is that the guitarist in there, I think is the guitarist.
Phil
also, is also the guy who did Archimentus, which is one of my fucking favorite albums. So like he still has that element of like, the dude can crank out some fucking amazing music. I do love it. I love that guy. It's fantastic.
Next, Mark C. Welcome to Thirsty Thursday. I don't know if you've been here before.
I have not. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, man. I got to give some love to my man Dave Suzuki and Church Burn with Genocidal Right. I've seen these guys live a couple times now. They're out of Providence, Rhode Island. Holy smokes, man. Like, I mean, the last time I saw them, they literally played outside under a full moon. There was like just like 100, 200 kids just slow headbanging. I mean, it was like, I think it was one of my first shows back post-pandemic, just attending a show. And man, it left quite an impression. So I just wanted to give some love to those guys and just give you a shout. So thanks for giving me a minute. I appreciate you.
Pete from Half, and you can't give yourself a shout out.
I don't have anything out yet, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to echo Grayson with Mul Diorama. That album, I think I heard it for the first time maybe a month ago, so super late on the 2021 list. But it's like he said, it scratched that itch that Deaf Heaven isn't really doing it anymore. But it also gave me a vibe that I haven't really found in another band since Numenorian. And with him kind of gone now, it was like when I discovered that these like super dark, just depressing black metal riffs, and then these soaring, like optimistic melodies intertwining with it. I was like, ooh, that scratches an itch I didn't know I had. I didn't know I wanted it right now, but it was just so good.
Love it. Brian.
I'm going to go with Illustrium's new album, A Monument to Silence. It's really heavy. It's got a lot of different elements to it. All the members are really good at what they do. There's highlights of all the different instruments throughout the songs and stuff. The particular album has a theme to it. It's got a whole vibe. If you listen to it start to finish, there's elements of the first song in the last song, so it ties it all together by the end. It's really, really good. Good solos, like blast beats, there's chugs, it's great. It's a really, really good album.
And fucking tastic. Colby.
I just want to say, like, if it wasn't for the whole review crew, I would probably listen to not as much music because I don't do it as much anymore these days. But it's just like everyone said it so far. Everyone gives albums to each other. There's the reviews that are put out there, the Facebook group, Discord, whatever, private messages. It's just amazing the amount of music that comes through from everybody.
but I was surprised, at least in my opinion, that no one said Sanguisugabog. So I really liked their Tortured Whole album.
Yeah.
Some people say it's kind of cookie cutter and stuff, but
it's one of those moments like would and this is for Evan, like had that album dropped in the same in the spot of 200 Stab Wounds, would it have been Sanguisugabog versus them?
So it was actually, you know what was funny is Sanguisugabog, Frozen Soul, 200 Stab Wounds. I try to keep things within like the genre. So like I try not to have too many.
You had to
I had to choose. And I will say I'm gonna see that band in a few, like next week. I'm gonna see that band on Tuesday. So, but I have seen 200 Stab Wounds. So really just the live aspect of 200 Stab Wounds is why I was so drawn to it, was the fact that for bands that have hype right now, the old school death metal has such hype right now, because I don't know why everybody's so fucking clamoring for something so old. 200 is everything worth it. Like they just have the chops, they have their own sort of aura, and they have that unique sound in the vocal delivery and the guitars and everything about it. So I'm excited. I'm going to see Frozen Soul and Sanguisugabog all in the same one. I'm going to see Inoculation, Vomit Forth. I can't wait.
Jealous, man.
We're going to wrap up with the podcrastination recommendation of 2021. Steph, give it to us.
That's a lot of pressure to give me, but yeah, I'm going to go with a band that's not really metal, but it did open for a bunch of metal band back before when we could tour and whatnot. Nitland put out the Ritual. They're a Siberian throat singing, folk singing, Norwegian, Russian mix. It's basically just a couple, wife and husband, and they're just doing throat singing and old school Siberian instruments. They do ambient, long, weird songs. It's an album that haunts me still. Like I wake up at night and sweat and think about it. It's not necessarily metal, like I said, but they did do a bunch of metal cover. They used to tour with Korpiklani. They were on that super huge Beer, a bunch of covers that happened, and they did a bunch of Rammstein cover and stuff like that. It's weird, it's complex, it's intriguing, and anyone that likes folk metal should look at this. Nitland do some amazing thing. It's throat singing. It's just a thing.
Very fucking cool. I just want to take a moment. This is it. This is the end of this episode, this live interview that we recorded at Thirsty Thursday. Massive cheers and thanks to the Vox&Hops Album Review Crew for doing everything that they do for the podcast, showing me so many amazing bands that are outside of the box. I think it's just amazing. Everyone that's here tonight, make some noise. We're going to wrap up right now, the part that we're recording for this. We've gone 2 hours and 10 minutes so far tonight, the longest live interview yet for Vox&Hops. Thank you so much. Make some noise. Thirsty Thursday gang. Yeah. The album review crew, thank you so much. This has been amazing. We're going to keep hanging out, but not with you guys listening. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Recording stopped.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, was that ever an amazing Thirsty Thursday. We had so much fun. When I finished this episode, I just had a sense of gratefulness. I'm just so grateful that I have these 5 amazing humans writing reviews for the podcast. They are so varied. They all have their own unique tastes, and I think that's super important when you're covering extreme metal, because extreme metal is so vast that I think it's important to have a bunch of different viewpoints on what metal is, and the best way to cover more genres is to have experts in each of those fields, and I'm very lucky to have stumbled upon these awesome dudes who cover a lot of them. Massive thanks and huge cheers to the Vox&Hops Album Review Crew I love you to death. If you enjoyed this Vox and Hops episode, you should sign up to the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast's mailing list. You can do it on my website, voxandhops.com. That's VOXANDHOPS.com. And when you do that, you shall receive one email a week containing all of the details of everything that has happened throughout the past week in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, including all the details about any episodes which I dropped throughout that past week, if I've been a guest on someone else's podcast, any cool information about any projects that I have in the works before I announce them to the public. You also get to see the album reviews which came out that week, as well as the updated links to the Brutal Awakenings playlist, which is curated by my man Jerry Monk, the metal architect himself, and is available on both Apple Music and Spotify. There's just so much going on in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. I would hate for you to miss a single thing, so please sign up to the mailing list. The Vox and Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope you have a glorious rest of the day. I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode, but until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox and Hops hits.